course, now to Yair Aviezer. I'll just say a word. We somehow managed to fit 3 names into 2. So I'll just say a word a little bit, and then Lonnie will say something about Uncle Meyer, whose name became Yair. And Aviezer is a combination of Ezer from Eliezer, from my father-in-law's cousin, Eliezer Goldman, Professor Eliezer Goldman, Zichrono Livracha, who Lonnie will speak about him in a moment. Most people who knew Eliezer knew him as a brilliant philosopher, as one of the most sharp and creative minds on the philosophic scene in Israel towards the 20th century. I remember when I went to the Jerusalem Fellows, some lecturer came to deliver a lecture, and he was talking about Professor Goldman as the only creative and innovative mind working in philosophy now in the state of Israel. And I said, "That's my Eliezer. That's our Eliezer." I mean, I knew him to be a brilliant academician, but I also knew him as a very kind, sensitive, caring person who, when I entered the family, took great interest both in Lonnie's academic work and teaching as well as my own, and was very helpful to both of us in many, many different ways. I think Lonnie will speak in a moment about his chalutziut, the first member of the extended family to come on Aliyah in the 30s as a young man, etc. But for me, I remember him as a combination of this brilliant, incisive mind and a very, very caring person. Avi of Aviezer is Al Shem Avram Al Cohen. When I was in the 4th grade, both of my grandfathers passed away the same month. And both of my grandmothers ultimately remarried. My mother's mother married a man by the name of Al Cohen, who was by then himself a widow, although he never had children from his first wife. And he was already a very active, energetic, but already an older man at that time. Even though he would go on, they would be married for over 18 years. And for me and my sister certainly, he became not just a surrogate grandfather, but a grandfather in every sense of the term. He was, of course, besides a handful of the immediate family, none of you ever knew him. Although he did come well into his 90s. He came for our wedding, his first trip to Israel. He was an extraordinarily kind and loving man. Almost as if a virtual lifetime of care and affection and love had been stored up in this man who really had almost no family of his own until he entered ours and took over the role of grandfather to us. And as things happened, he and my grandmother both passed away a week apart a number of years ago. And we thought it appropriate to call a baby Al Shmo, Al Cohen.